Welcome to another lesson. In our last lesson, we looked at how to create an item router for the product, where we did the post, the get by ID, to update, where we use patch, and delete item. We've tested this out in our Postman and it worked successfully. We were able to add product and get products. For us to now include the user, as we removed it the other time, we can return the user back. Now the owner, which means there will be a need for user to log in before an item can be posted. To do that, in the item router, we have to import the authentication, come here, say constant auth is equal to, or better still, if you don't want to import, by the time you use it here, it is going to automatically import it for you. Okay, if that is not coming forth, then we may have to import it by ourselves. Okay, so let us import constant auth is equal to require dot slash the code, dot slash, okay, dot slash middleware slash auth. Okay, so we import the auth, and now everything works successfully. You can see that now. Okay, so by putting this here, it means we need user to log in. Don't forget, in our authentication, the middleware, what are we doing there? We are checking for the request and response. Inside the request header, we are looking for authorization and replace the bearer there with empty, and then we decode the token. That means you must provide a token in this case, and then we look for the ID inside the token as our user, and then we return the user. So which means any user that logs in, his token will be the owner of the item that we posted. Alright, so we'll do the same thing for all other router. So I'm going to copy this and put it on others. This is get item, this is post item, this is get item by ID, to update patch, and to delete patch. Here you can even specify certain type of user that should be able to perform some operation. So now let us start creating the cart. Now that a user is attached to every item, then we need to look at our cart. For the cart, we are going to import some of the things we import that was imported here. We're going to import the express, the item, the hot. Then we also import the cart itself. Instance cart is equal to require this slash cart. Okay, then we move on by creating the router. Instance router is equal to new express dot router. Okay, then let's begin to create the routers. Router dot get, we want to get slash cart. This happens when someone had access to cart. Then we check for the authentication and synchronous. Calling an arrow function. Okay, so the arrow function we take request and response. So now the first thing we need to do in this case is to look for the user that logs in is going to serve as the owner of that cart. So the constant owner is equal to request.user dot underscore ID. The authentication will give us the request user to be the ID of that user as it is stored in the token. So we make that to be the owner. Then we try user ID. Then we try cache. Create the cart. Constant cart is equal to await dot cards dot find one. I'm passing the get for the owner. Okay, then if the await is equal to await is not dot, it's not if. So if not cat, or if there is cats and the cat dot items dot length, that is the item in the cart, if it is greater than 0, that means we have something in the cart already. Then response dot status is 200. Then send the cart. Otherwise, else send null. press or send. No. So we are not sending anything if there is nothing in the cart added to the cart. And if there is any error, we return the status of 500 and then we send the error. Okay, so that is that on getting cart. How do we post into the cart? We want to add item into the cart. The first thing we do to add to cart, say router dot post slash cart, then authentication, comma, like I said, the user will have to log in, synchronous, then an arrow function. Okay, so the arrow function will take the request and response. So just like we did, the first thing we do is to get the owner, the person that is adding into cart, from its login details from the authentication, which is equal to request.user._id. Then we destruct every other item in the request body. So destructor, we need to read our tutorials about destructor. So what we are going to do is to get item ID, comma, quantity, from the request body. Then we can now process it further by getting the cart is equal to await cart.find1 by the owner. Then find the item, constant item is equal to await item dot find one by the ID of the user, and then by item ID. So if he found record, if not found, if not item, then return response dot status is 400, not found. Then send a message that we have a message as the key and value will be item not found. then return from here. Don't continue, otherwise if the item is found, then get the remaining value of the item, which is item dot price, and then the name of the item, constant name, is equal to item dot name, and if item already exists for the user, in the cart, then what do we do? In this case, we check if carts, then we constant item index is equal to cart dot items dot find index. What are you going to find in the index? Call the function this and this item for the item dot item ID. Look for the ID of this item. If it is equal to this item ID, if it is equal to this item ID, then we also check if the item index is greater than -1, then we only get the quantity if we have the product already. So let product is equal to cart dot items, the quantity of the item, the item index, as the product, and then we now say product dot quantity, then we add to the quantity plus equal to our quantity. So what are we doing here is that if the product exists in the cart already, we don't have to add the entire product again. We only increase the quantity of that product, and then we add the price. We add to the price. So cart dot bill is equal to cart dot items dot reduce. So this we use to induce our count, and then the current one. So this is supposed to be in an arrow function again. Okay, that we will, the bill we just return the CC plus the current quantity multiply by the current price. That by the current price. That is return. Okay. Then otherwise let it be 0 if there is no price. So that is for if the cart exists. Then we put the cart dot items with the item index in that index is equal to the product. Then we save our cart. Await cart dot save. We save all these calculations. The calculation of the total price, the quantity, and then we return the response of status 200, and then we send the cart. Send the cart. Otherwise that is here, which is no cards exists, then we add a new card. So we create a new card constant. New card is equal to await card dot create is a function that takes the object of the owner, comma, then items. For the items, we have to get the item as an array of objects that will contain item ID, comma, name, comma, quantity, comma, price. Then after that, we'll take the bill that's going to be the total price, which is quantity, multiply by price. Quantity multiplied by price. And then we return response.status 201 because we are creating a cart, and then we send the new cart. Okay, send the new cart. So with all this, if there's any error, we catch it right here and return a status of 500, and then we send the message something went wrong for you to investigate that. That is how to create a cart. What have we done here? What we have done is that when you post a cart, at least when you click on add to cart, so definitely as you are sending that, you are clicking on a product to add it to the cart. The product will have name, price, description, quantity, category, and all that. So we take the ones that we need right there. So we have taken what item ID, the quantity. At first, we take that and destruct it from the response body, and then we look for the owner and look for that item by its ID so that it will give us every other information about that item. So we check if there is no item, we return a method response item not found 404 status. But if not so, then we get the price and the name of the object from the item, because item now becomes the object of the item. Then we now say, okay, if we were able to get the cart, then look for the index of that cart item in the cart, and then let the cart find the index of that item, and where the item ID is equal to this particular ID, item ID, and then look for the item index -1, and then we get the product from that index, and we take the quantity of that, make it our quantity by incrementing it, and then we use that to calculate the total price, which is the bill. So what this is saying is that if the product exists already in our cart, we now go back and click on that product again to add it to cart, it will only pick the quantity of that and get the price and add it into the bill, rather than getting the entire product separately again. And then we now add the item to product and save the cart in our database. Otherwise, if it is a new cart, we don't have it in our cart before, then we get the owner, the items that you're adding to cart, we get the item ID, name, quantity, price, and then the bill, which is the quantity multiplied by price, and return that cart. That is that on how to post cart. Now, how do we delete from a cart? To delete from a cart, we have to delete items in cart, do router dot delete, and you do a delete and put /cart/ and just make it like this. The next thing we do is our authentication. Whoever wants to delete must log in and make sure he has access to that product. Then our arrow function, which is takes request, response, and it's an arrow function. So like we did last time. Get the owner, which is from the request.user._id. Then the item to delete, we get the ID of the item, constant item ID equal to request.query to find the item ID. Then we can now try to do some things. Try and cache. So we get the cart. Let cart is equal to await cart dot find one by ID. By owner rather. Then constant item index is equal to cart dot items dot find by index. What are we finding by index? It's going to be a function which will be the item dot item ID is equal to item ID. So if you found that item, if item index greater than yes, then let item is equal to cart dot items with the index ID item index. The item index then cat.po minus equal to, we have to reduce the bill by quantity, multiply by the price, item price, okay. Then if there is cart bill less than 0, if cart bill less than 0, then cart dot bill is equal to 0. We cannot be displaying negative for the total price. Then we get the remaining items, cart.items dot splice item index one. So we do similar for cart view. Is equal to reduce create a function, create it as an arrow key. So cart.bill is equal to cart.items cart.items.reduce comma value. Then we did the same thing as we did here. Here, return this is a currency multiplied by price, and otherwise 0. So here too, do the same thing. Okay, then let us save our cart. So let's say cart is equal to await cart.save. Then we have removed that from the cart, so the next thing is for us to save it. After saving, we return a response of status 200 dot send cart else we return item not found. So that's status dot send item not found. And then if there's any error, we catch the error, log it, and send for 400. So just log the error, and then return a response. Okay, so that's about deleting an item. So let us export this router. Come by and say module.export router. Okay, so that is that about our cards. Now let us look at order. Order is basically going to look similar to the cards. It is just that in the order, the only thing we are going to do is to get the order and send it to the payment gateway. So for orders, we only need two things. The first one is to get our orders, which will be from the cart, and then we get it to check out. When they check it out, we post it to checkout, and then we integrate that by sending it into a payment gateway. So the thing I'm going to do at first is to import Express. Let me copy some things here. We're going to need authentication, we're going to need item. No, we're going to need authentication. We're going to need the cart, the Express. We may not necessarily need the item because the item is already added to the cart. So these are the things we need for now on this. So I'm going to create the router. Should have copied it up to this place. Paste this, and then let us get orders. So we do router dot get slash orders, comma, we confirm the authentication, synchronous, and an arrow function. So the arrow function will take request and response. So let's first of all look at for the owner. Constant owner is equal to request.user dot underscore id. Then we get the order. Let's use try catch. So we say constant order is equal to await order dot find the object of the owner is owner. sort it by date, sending. So if order if you get order, then return status of 200 and return the order. Otherwise, we are going to return the response of status 400 and send the message that says no orders. Found. Otherwise, we return an error and catch the error. So that's how to get orders. We are going to be looking at checkout later on. Let's just create it down. We do router.post. This one we are going to be posting into the order slash checkout. Do the authentication. Synchronous. An arrow function. And here we are going to be tracking our orders. So what we do here is to get it from the cart. This is where we'll add into carts. We check what is added into the cart and check it out before we store things into our orders. Otherwise, we won't have anything in our orders. So in this case, if we do a try and cache, if we get the owner is equal to request.user underscore id, that is the owner, then we make our payload. Let payload be equal to request.body. This one you are going to be specifying some things. That's for the payload. So let's get our cart now. To get cart, let's say wallet cart is equal to await cart dot find one by its owner, and then let user is equal to request.user, and then we check. If you find cart, there is something inside the cart, then we continue with the payload. We continue with the payload, and then we store the value into order. We create order. If all this, if we find cards, what's supposed to happen actually is that we are supposed to make payment after that, but because there is no payment integrated for now, payment gateway integrated for now, what we are going to do is just to assume that you make the payment and then we add to cart and delete. We add it to order and delete the cart. So what I am going to do now is that I'm going to say if you find cart, I'm going to do constant validate payments, which is equal to true for now. It is true. This you validate payment was true. So we are going to say if validate payments, then we want to save into order. If validate payment, we say constant order is equal to await order dot create. You create order with the following object: the owner, comma, then items, which is what? Cart dot items, comma, then bill will be cart dot bill. Remember, in our model, what do we have inside order? Owner, items. Inside the items, that is where we have all these items: the item ID, the name, quantity, the bill for that item, and then others. So that is why we are doing this by saving the orders, and then after doing this, the next thing for us is to delete the cards. After that, because remember that the whole thing is, after you validate payments, you have things to order and delete the cards. So how do we delete cards? Say constant data is equal to await cards dot find by ID and delete. Find by ID and delete. What are we deleting? We are deleting the underscore ID of which is what? Cart dot ID, and then return response dot status, which is 201 dot send in the send we are going to take the status to be payment successful. Payment was successful. Payment was successful, and then we put in the order so that we can see what we have paid for. Otherwise, else we return status of $400, and then the message will just be payment failed. There is no status, so you can leave the status if you like. Payment failed. So we don't need this order. Since the payment has failed, we may not need it as an object in that case, because it's just a string that we're sending out. So that is that on the payment. Then we can now check here that we are checking if there is cart. Otherwise, we can say else here and return the status of 400 and the message cart not found. Cart not found. Then if there is any error, we'll return 400 invalid request or failed, and then we log the error. So that is how we create our order, and then we export it. Module.export is equal to router. Now, after doing all this, let us go back to our app.js now, where we commented all this out. We can bring it up now, and then use all of them. So let me copy and paste now. Come here and say app.use user router, item router, carts, and then order. So now that we have exported everything, if we go back to our MongoDB Compass now, if we refresh databases, you can see now we have cart, items, users, and we have no data in some of them. It's only item that we have data. So why is others not coming? Other router, did we export? Okay, up here we did not import order. You need to import order model constant. No wonder how come we are not getting any error when we are creating order. Okay, it's actually telling us we could not find name order. So we can say constant order is equal to require slash order. Okay, so by doing this now, we should have our orders. You can see that. So we have orders in the database. So that is that about it. If you now want to execute anyone, want to create order now, we have to first of all log in on our, we have to create user at first. So what we do is that if you create a new HTTP, how do we create user? We can look at our router here for users. We see post users, so it's going to be post, and it will be localhost item slash item will be users, and then what does it take? It takes a request body. That is where we have our new user. So we can look at the model. What are the things for a user? What are the things needed for a user? Check up here. The user have name, email, password. Token will be generated automatically. So name, email, password, that's what we need. So I'm going to go into the body, raw data, and it's a JSON. So once we do this, we create this object like this and say name, just like we did for our products. You remember, in fact, we can copy this and edit some of the things we have here for users. So if I come here, the name, all we have is name, then what again? Name, email, password. Email, specify the email. Let me say awal@yahoo.com is the email, password, which is new our, remember we cannot use password as password. So once you send this, we get back validator error. That is the okay, so the error is validator.lower. Do we have anything like validator.lower? Let us check our model, user model. Yeah, okay. Yeah, here is supposed to be if value, not validator, and it is even not if value dot lower includes password. We want to check if your password, if the password you have entered includes the keyword password. So we are converting it to lowercase to check, so that you shouldn't have password in your password. So let us try it now. So we're going to retry again, send. Okay, so we get HTTP invalid status code. Let's check what that is. Okay, checking the log here is telling us that this has been deprecated. We need to change to just send the body. That is happening inside our router. Here where we are sending status and the body, see that. Okay, so let us only return the token. Let's not return user, and see what it will be. So it works. So this token has to be copied and saved somewhere, so that whenever we want to make a request, we use the token. Now for a user login, if a user needs to log in, how do we log in? We go to /users/login. So we are going to get the same thing here, so we better return only the token, or we can create an object, say the results is equal to user is user, comma, token. So I think we have to do that. Let me close this, otherwise we may get an error. So here we'll send out the results. Let's see, when the user logs in, we return the results. Okay, so let's try and log in now. So what is our password is new Lawa, and our email is lawa@yahoo.com. So /users. So our login should be post as well, but this time around is going to be /login. Then we won't have this in the response body. So we send our login should only be email and password. So actually we have logged in, but it's not returning our response. Let us change it back to not returning our result as. So let me change it back to the, I think token is inside the user, so we can just return the user without returning token separately. Let us see. So if I log in, okay. Oh, we use methods here. We have to change it to statics. Okay, so let us try it now and see. We try now. We should be able to get the token. Let me try it with another tab. So login, body, raw, and let me look for the to copy that from here. So it is going to be post, the body raw, JSON, distance, and send, get an error, what's the error? Okay. Oh, we have error in the code. Let me stop and restart the application and retry. I did not start this. Okay, so we were able to log in. So that's how we log in into the application. Then you get the token. You see the tokens, and then we have the token, and then we should be able to use the token in the login. After logging in, we can now use the token to access every other API. Thank you.